In this demo, we want to look at some of the properties available to configuring your certificate authority. So we built the certificate authority earlier using the add roles and features. Now that we want to manage it, we can go under tools and we have this certificate authority. And now that it's installed, that will actually load up properly. So it's just an MMC snap-in for a certificate authority. And we can see some basic information here. The name of the actual certificate authority is listed. And then under there are a bunch of folders that will show our various different certificates. Any that have been issued, any that have been revoked, pending requests, failed requests, and so on. But in terms of configuring properties of this certificate authority, we can simply right-click and choose Properties on the actual certificate authority name. So as that's loading, we'll see how we can configure certain, there's a lot of different properties in there. And this is one of the places we could come in our certificate authority to actually view the certificate. So we can see the name of and we can see the certificates that have been assigned to this authority, and we can click to view the certificate as well. And by being able to view the certificate, we can get the details. And besides just the cryptographic settings, we can actually read the details of the certificate. This is the certificate that will be issued out into the root store of all of your client computers so that they trust the certificate authority. So we can click the Details tab to get some additional information, and the certification path. We can see that essentially this was self-signed. As it would be. A root CA has no one above it. It has to be a self-signed certificate. And so we can see the certificate there. Under policy module, we can see the current policy module in effect. Description of the active policy module. Okay, the description, the Windows default is the name. And if we click on properties, we can see a little bit more detail about how it's going to handle requests. So when a certificate request is received, set the certificate request status to pending would be an option. It's not the default option. The default is follow the settings in the certificate template, if applicable. Otherwise, automatically issue the certificate. So if you want to override that, you could specify to set the certificate request status to pending. And then the administrator must explicitly issue the certificate. Many of you might have this already in place, and you're trying to understand why it is when I take a course, when I'm doing a lab environment, and these things issue automatically, but in my production environment, it always makes me go in and manually. In other words, you got to go in here under pending requests, back behind there, and issue the certificate, explicitly issue it. Well, that's because of this setting right here in the policy module. So we'll leave that as the default. The exit module as well, we can see some of the information in there about the exit module by clicking clicking the properties. Allow certificates to be published to the file system or not. We've got some other things in here where we can specify enrollment agents and also auditing, if we want to turn on any auditing settings, recovery agents. Okay, a recovery agent would be a way that we could archive the key of a specific recovery agent. We would need the key imported into the certificate store to be able to find it. Right now, there are no certificates available that follow that form of recovery agent. Okay, up here we have certificate managers. Okay, restrict certificate managers to certain templates if we wanted to, so we could restrict people to certain templates as necessary. Okay, give them certain permissions to certain templates as necessary. And we're going to go ahead and just leave that as do not restrict. So these are some of the properties available to us in our certificate authority and the various options available in the properties of that CA. So we build out the certificate authority, we do the initial configuration, and then we come in here and further configure any of those properties to sort of establish the baseline of how our CA is going to behave.